In this short session, we're going to run through the steps you need to set up the platform so that Booking.com can pull prices to their user interface and enable the traveler to book your services and for those bookings to be tracked to offer the passenger a better travel experience. We've done our best to make this process as easy as possible so as not to disrupt your business, but simply add value. We'll start with removing the service types that you don't offer as a business. We have added a selection of default services, and these need to be tailored so they reflect the actual services you offer. Next, how to set a distance pricing matrix from a collection address to a destination, or creating polygon zones to define the service areas that you operate in, and also to create zone-to-zone pricing if you have special rates between fixed points. You can also set a distance pricing matrix for a particular zone. For example, you can create a zone around an airport, and you can set a specific distance pricing matrix for bookings that start from that airport, or any point of interest. Next, how to add vehicles and drivers manually. Also, how you can allow the driver to onboard themselves in the vehicle. We'll run through the various methods of onboarding your drivers. Next, we'll run through the various methods of manually assigning rides to drivers. Alternatively, there is a simple process for the driver to directly call a booking up on the app, ready for tracking and passenger communications. And also the ability to allow a driver to self-assign bookings, if you prefer. If technically possible, you can call our API and pull the booking directly into your own dispatch system, and then allocate as you would normally. And then finally, the driver experience. This is the second video which will carry on straight after this one. The process starts off with an email that you receive when the instance is created. It will come from Ivecardo on behalf of Booking.com. You'll see there's a brief welcome message here, and below, a username and password. Below that, there's a link to log into the platform. The link will take you to the login page, which is provided by our resellers. The logo for the reseller may change depending on your location. Enter your credentials from the email and click the login button. Now you're logged in, you'll see the license agreement, which you can scroll through. Clicking the link, Download Now, will save a copy to your local drive. When you are happy, simply click Agree. Now you see the unallocated bookings page for rides that have not been assigned to a driver. We'll come back to this after. But first we need to go to the administration dashboard. Before we jump in, let me show you how to add other people in your organization, so they can log in and perform some of these functions. If you want to add another administrator to the system, from the menu, click the user's link, and then click Add New. Enter their name and email address. Optionally, you can add their mobile number. Select the option to allow them access only to dispatch functions, or full access, including the admin module. You can also select the language you would like the platform to display in for this user. Then click Save. Repeat this for all users you want to give access to within your organization. Once completed, you will see them in the list. Then simply click the Send Credentials button and an email will be sent to them with the login information. It is necessary to add your company logo to the system so that this can be displayed on other booking platforms, or for use in passenger communications, or on our booking products. From the admin menu, click Configuration. Then click the Manage Company Logo link. Use the Choose File button to select the image from your local machine. And then click the Upload button. You can now see the logo below. Before we create prices for Booking.com, we first need to create the customer account so we can attach the prices that will be pushed to the Booking.com API. On the top menu, click Accounts, and then click Add New. Now the page has loaded. Let's start adding the necessary information. First, at the company name, Booking.com. Now let's give it an account number. This is not important and is an internal reference for you only. So go ahead and create your own. We will use a generic account number in this example. You can ignore the integrated partner own reference field, as this is not used for Booking.com, but may be used for other partners. Now, optionally, you can add account and billing contact information if you wish. We will skip this in this tutorial. Click the next panel, Dispatching and Communication Preferences. Let's create a communication plan for the customer. In the email section, let's first set the Send Booking Confirmation option to No, so that we don't send an email confirmation, as this has already been sent by Booking.com. Next, do you want to send an email to the passenger when the vehicle is en route, arrived at the collection address, or both? Next, do you want to send an email with a tracking link so the customer can see where their vehicle is? This should be set to Yes. The panel below is exactly the same, but for SMS text messages, which can be sent to the passenger's mobile phone. We recommend you set both email and SMS options the same. In the Booking and Dispatch Options section, you can see an option for Search Pricing. You can increase a price based on the time of booking, compared to the time the booking was being made. For example, you can set a price for a booking being made in 1 week's time, but if that same booking was being made today, for a pickup tomorrow, you can apply an uplift to the calculated price to cover any extra effort required finding a driver at short notice. The options available to you are scalable, so you can set multiple rate changes based on the time between when the booking was made and when the vehicle is booked to pick up the passenger. We'll show you how to control this in another session. Next, click the Financial and Billing section. As you are not using the platform to send the invoices to Booking.com, you don't need to enter the registered name of the company to be billed, or their official tax number. In the next field, enter the tax rate you will be charging for bookings received from Booking.com. This tax rate is added to the prices we will be creating for the service types in the next session. As you are not using the platform to send invoices, you can ignore the payment terms and admin fee fields, as these do not apply to Booking.com either. The system also allows you to set prices from a fixed start and end point. In the US, this is known as garage to garage. In the UK, this is known as base to base. Using this method allows you to set fixed start and end points for every booking, then the pickup and collection addresses are then treated as via addresses or stop points. This allows you to recover any dead mileage. This option is not widely used and is optional. However, if you want to use this option, simply check the box and click the green button. Then type into the address field and select from the list. Then click Save. As you are not using the platform to send the invoices to Booking.com, you can ignore the billing address field. Now click on the Notes section, and you will see here we have two options. Notes that will appear to the dispatcher every time they go to assign a booking to a driver, and driver notes that will appear on the driver's mobile app every time they receive a booking from Booking.com. Next, click on the Legal Compliance section and in the first box, paste the website address of your terms and conditions from your website. This appears on all communications to the customer. You can ignore the privacy and FAQ fields, as these are not required for Booking.com. When you're finished, click the Save button. And now you can see the Booking.com account listed in the customer's list. When bookings are made via Partner API, the meeting point at an airport can be communicated to the passenger. You can assign meeting points at airports automatically on a per customer account basis, enabling you to communicate the meeting point at different locations at each airport. From the menu, click Accounts, then the Airport Meeting Points link. Now select either the specific account you wish to set the meeting point, for example Booking.com, or use the Select All option, which will set the meeting point for all accounts the same. Now click the country drop-down list and select the appropriate country. This will populate the airports for that country in the next list. Now click the airport drop-down list and select the airport. In the next field, type the meeting point. Then click Save. You can now see this entry in the grid below. From here you can edit the record and save changes. Now moving on to polygon zones. Polygons are shapes on a map, created by you, that serve two purposes. 1. They define the areas you provide your services. And 2. They allow you to set fixed prices between two zones. Let's get started. In the menu bar, click Geospatial. And now, Active. There are none listed at the moment as we haven't added any. There are two ways to add a zone. You can add a zone manually by drawing a shape on a map around the perimeter of an airport, for example. Or you can add an administrative level zone, which is defined as the government's definition of a particular zip code, town, or point of interest. Let's look at administrative levels first, and show you some examples so you can see the difference. In the menu bar, click Geospatial. And now add administrative level zone. When you land on this page, you'll see that the map is centered around your business address, but you can search for a location in the address bar. So if I type in a town called Harrow in the UK, then click Search, you'll now see the administrative shape for Harrow, a suburb of London, as defined by the government. In the box below I would then name the shape, Harrow. Then select United Kingdom from the list. And save. It's as simple as that. Let's try another example. This time I'm going to use a zip code in America, for a town called Newtown, which is 06470. Then the country US. I click on Search. And there we go. That's the administrative level for Newtown in Connecticut. Let's try one more. Let's use Badalona in Spain. And click Search. And there is the shape. Now let's save this. In the box below I name this Badalona. And select the country from the list. Spain. Leave the next selection as No, as this is not an airport. Now save. You can see that we have now created our first administrative zone. As you can see, this works all over the world. But occasionally it doesn't produce a result, in which case we can draw the shape by hand. So let's see that in action. In the menu bar, click Geospatial. And now add Manual Zone. Again, when you land on this page, you'll see that the map is centered around your business address, but you can search for a location in the address bar. Let's type Barcelona Airport in Spain. Then search. You see the map is now over the airport. We can zoom in and out using the icons on the bottom right of the map, or we can expand the map to the entire screen to get a better view by clicking the Maximize button top right of the map. Now simply use the mouse to draw the zone around the shape. If you are drawing around an airport, please make sure you include the airport perimeter. If the airport has more than one terminal, ensure you capture the perimeter of each terminal. Now give the zone a name. Barcelona Airport. Then select the country. Spain. In the next box, select Yes, as this is an airport. Then save. So, you can now see we have our two shapes. Primarily, these define the service areas you operate in, so when we connect you to partners who have bookings in these areas, you will be included. Secondly, we can create prices between these points. This process should not be exhaustive, providing you have added a distance matrix from the previous section, which works perfectly well in most circumstances. Be aware that not adding a distance matrix may result in you losing bookings. So we're going to click on Services, then Active. Now we can define the types of service you want to offer to Booking.com. You can see the default services already added, and obviously there's some that won't apply. So just simply go ahead and archive them one by one, working your way through the list. So once you finish that process, you should end up with something generic, a standard saloon, an executive saloon, and maybe in minivan service. In the previous session, you defined your list of service types you offer. Now we need to add both distance pricing and also fixed pricing between 2 points. Let's start with adding our first distance pricing matrix, so that Booking.com can pull rates from the system. From the main menu, click Services, then the active link. Important to note here, all prices must be net of tax. In an earlier session we covered where the tax element is added, in the customer accounts section. We'll keep it simple using the standard saloon service. So go ahead and click on the Set Prices button. This will bring you to the pricing setup page. The first drop-down box here allows you to add a price, where the collection address is in a particular zone. A zone that you may have drawn in the previous session. Alternatively, you can leave it set to all zones, so the price is the same regardless of where the collection address is. This may be helpful where you want to set a particular price matrix for Booking.com collecting from an airport, for example, and another price matrix for Booking.com collecting from the city center. You can set different waiting time allowances, include a meet and greet fee, or raise the minimum fare for the Booking.com customer account. Next, we have the customer account drop-down box. You can see that it's set here to the default global account, which means that you don't need to define a specific price for Booking.com or any other partner. They can all run from a single pricing matrix. But if you prefer to set individual rates for each customer account, then the Booking.com account is there. So simply select that. For the purpose of this video we will use dollars. But your local currency may be euros, pounds, or any other denomination. The process is the same, so don't worry. We will also use miles, but you may be in a territory where kilometers are used. Again, don't worry, your instance is set correctly and the process is the same. You probably have a minimum fare. This is the fixed price to be charged before the vehicle travels any distance. Let's assume that the minimum fare for the standard saloon is $20. Next, does the price above include any distance traveled? Maybe the $20 includes the first 5 or 10 miles, or maybe none. Next, what's the waiting charge per minute? Simply divide your hourly charge by 60 and enter it here, let's say 50 cents per minute, for example. Next, rounding charge. When the price is being requested for Booking.com, entering the number 1 here rounds the price up to the nearest dollar. Entering 5 will round up the price to the nearest $5. And that's what is displayed to the customer. If you leave this as 0, then the raw price will be displayed. On to the next section. You have some optional features here. When does the waiting time start? Do you include the first 5, 10, or 15 minutes for free? Next, buy a charge and stop fee. So let's assume the passenger has requested a stop address between the collection and destination address. In this field we can set a fee, for example, $5. So when Booking.com requests a price for a booking that has 3 addresses, we will include the distance between all 3, and calculate the price based on the total distance traveled. And then we add this charge to the total. The same would apply if there were 2 or more stop addresses between the collection and destination. The system would add this fee for each stop on the route. Next, gratuities. You can set a fixed gratuity that is added to the total price. On to the next section, setting prices for distance bands. Here you can set a sliding scale for the price per mile. You can reduce the price per mile, so you can become more competitive over longer journeys. Important notice, the bands below start after the included distance you defined above. That is the distance you included in the minimum fare. If we go back to the first panel, remember we set this option here? So if that was set to 10, distance band 0 starts at 10. You can go ahead and change these to suit your business logic by clicking the label and changing the values, then click on Save, and it will apply the change all the way through each of the bands automatically. So let's go ahead and set the first band to $2.50, up to 10 miles. The next one we set again to $2.50, up to 50 miles. Let's set the next one slightly lower to $2, up to 100 miles, and so on. The longer the journey assumes that the vehicle is on a motorway, running at maximum performance, and we can bring the price down again. There's one more option here, which is hourly bands. This setting will also enable you to run a virtual taxi meter. For example, when Google calculates the distance between the points, it'll also send back the estimated journey time as well, based on historical data, and it's pretty accurate. Bearing in mind, of course, that situations change on the day. Just like the distance bands, you can change these to suit your business model. Here you can set a sliding scale for the price per hour or part thereof. Once you are happy, click on Save, and that will bring us back to our list of services. You can see that the archived button is grayed out. That's because we have a pricing matrix against this service type, so we can't archive that vehicle unless we go to the menu option and click Services, then Pricing Matrix, and then click the active link. You can see here the one that we have just created. You can edit or archive from here. This will allow you to go back and archive the service type, if you wish. From this page you can also copy rates between both customer accounts and other service types. This is helpful if the prices are similar, and you simply need to make a small change, maybe to the minimum fare or included distance, for example. Select the customer account you want to copy to, or set it to the default global account. Then select the service type you want to copy to. Then click Copy Now. You can now see we have 2 price matrices, and you can now edit and make that small change. Then click Save. To create prices between fixed points, click Geospatial on the menu bar. Then Zone Rate Management. Then Active. The list is empty as we haven't added any yet. When a request for price between 2 addresses is being made, the system first determines if there is a fixed price between the 2 points. If the answer is yes, then that price is sent back to booking.com. If a price has not been created between the points, then it will use the distance calculation method we set up earlier. Setting distance prices is very important. If one hasn't been set, then no response is sent to booking.com and you will lose a potential booking. Let's go ahead now and add some prices for the shapes we have drawn. Click the Add New button. Like we did in the distance pricing matrix session, we can set a price for all customer accounts using the default global account. Or we can define a price specifically for the booking.com account by selecting it here. Next, select the first zone in the box, Barcelona Airport. Then, select the zone in the second box, Badalona. Now click the Generate Price button. The system is now generating a distance price for the 4 service types that we have previously defined. As you will see, we have 2 prices based on the calculation of distance prices added earlier, as a guide. It is helpful to complete the distance matrix pricing first, so you can see the calculation for fixed prices in all these fields. You can make small adjustments to offer lower prices for fixed rates by making changes to these fields. Then click Save. You will see that the button on the right changes from Save to Update, as the price has now been saved. Work through the service types, adding the prices one by one. You can click the Save button at the end of each row, or the Save All button at the top when you're finished. Now let's see our prices. Go ahead and click Geospatial, Zone Rate Management, then Active. And there they are. You will notice that we have created prices for both directions. This allows you to alter the price for each leg of the journey. Maybe you have a meet and greet charge at the airport, a tax levy, or parking charges that you want to include in the price. From here you can make small changes, then click the Update button at the end of the row. At the top of this page, you can see that there are 2 blue buttons. These functions can save a lot of time when creating zone-to-zone prices. First, the Copy to Service button. This allows you to copy rates between service types, whereas the Copy to Account button allows you to copy prices between customer accounts. Let me show you. Click Copy to Service. Select the customer account you want to copy the prices from. Then, select the service type to copy from. And next, select the service type to copy to. You can now apply an uplift percentage, which will be added to the price for the new service type, if the prices are different for each service type. Now click Copy to Account. Select the customer account you want to copy from. Then select the customer account to copy to. As before, you can now apply an uplift percentage, which will be added to the price for the new customer account. You will notice there is also an Increase Price button. This allows you to apply an uplift, by percentage, to all prices for a particular account. This would normally be used once or twice a year, when your rates increase. Finally, the Test Prices button. This opens a booking interface in a new tab, for you to test your distance and fixed price rates against, to make sure they are correct. Now we have added our prices, we can go ahead and define a schedule to alter those, based on the time of day, or date range. This may be because of a bank holiday, or special local event. You can do that by clicking Services. Then, Increase Price by Time of Day. Let's assume you want to increase the prices at night. You can select 2300 in the first box, to 6 a.m. the following morning, in the next box. You can uplift by a percentage, or you can uplift by a fixed amount. In this example, let's put 20 in this field as a percentage. Next, you will notice that you can apply an uplift based on the pickup address within a particular zone or leave it set to all zones. You can set this to be applied to all customer accounts using the default global account, or you can create it just for the Booking.com account. Next, select percentage from the drop-down list. Then save. You can now see the newly created row in the grid below. From here you can make adjustments, and then click the Save button. For date range settings, it is exactly the same process, except you have the additional option to choose the dates as well as the time. As previously mentioned in the customer account section, you can increase a price based on the time of booking, compared to the time the booking was being made. For example, you can set a price for a booking being made in 1 week's time. But if that same booking was being made today, for a pickup tomorrow, you can apply an uplift to the calculated price to cover any extra effort required finding a driver at short notice. The options available to you are scalable, so you can set multiple rate changes based on the time between when the booking was made and when the vehicle is booked to pick up the passenger. Make sure that the option for surge pricing is set to yes on the customer account. You can do this by clicking Services, then Increase Price by On-Demand Surge Pricing. Let's assume you want to increase the prices for bookings that come in within 6 hours from pickup time. You would select 0 in the first box and 6 in the following box. Like date and time uplifts, you can add a percentage, or you can add a fixed amount. In this example, let's put 20 in this field as a percentage. Next, you will notice that you can apply an uplift based on the pickup address within a particular zone, or leave it set to all zones. You can set this to be applied to all customer accounts using the default global account, or you can create it just for the Booking.com account. Next, select percentage from the drop-down list. Then save. You can now see the newly created row in the grid below. From here you can make adjustments, and then click the Save button. Now, let's assume you want to increase the prices for bookings that come in between 6 and 12 hours from pickup time. You would select 6 in the first box and 12 in the following box. In this example, let's put 10 in this field, which will add 10% to the price. Select the same options as before, and then save. You can continue to keep adding variables to suit your business pricing model. If you don't run a 24-hour operation, and you want to make sure that bookings do not come in when your office is closed, you can control this by clicking Services, then Restrict Bookings by Time of Day. You will notice that you have full control over the pickup address within a zone, the customer account, and also the vehicle type. Let's assume you want to restrict bookings at night. You can select 2000 in the first box to 7 a.m. the following morning in the next box. Next, you can select the restriction based on the pickup address within a particular zone, or leave it set to all zones. You can set this restriction to all customer accounts using the default global account, or you can create it just for the Booking.com account. You can set this restriction to all service types using the Please Select option, or you can create it just for a particular service type by selecting from the list. You can now see the newly created row in the grid below. From here you can make adjustments, and then click the Save button. Between the hours selected, the system will not allow bookings to be added from any partner.